Hi there. I hope you're well and you're having a good day or a good evening, whatever the case may be. In this video, I'd like to share with you my collection of Star Trek micro machines, which I collected in the early 90s when they were released. They were manufactured by a company called Galoob, which no longer exists and is now part of Hasbro. I'll pick each model at random, but to begin, I think we should start with the most iconic ship from the series. That's the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701. Captained by James T. Kirk in the original series, which ran from 1967 to 1969. It's a Constitution class starship. It first appeared with Captain Kirk in command in an episode called Where No Man Has Gone Before. And its final appearance in the final episode of Season 3 called Turnabout Intruder. A truly iconic piece of design. And now let's look at the rest of my collection. Here we have a Romulan warbird from Star Trek The Next Generation. This is known as a Dederidix class warbird, and it first appeared in the final episode of Season 1 of Star Trek The Next Generation, an episode called The Neutral Zone. This is one of my favourite alien ships from the Star Trek franchise. It would go on to appear in several episodes, including Face of the Enemy, in which Councillor Deanna Troi is surgically altered to appear as a Romulan. Here we have the USS Reliant. The Reliant appeared in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which was released in 1982. The Reliant is commandeered by Khan Noonien Singh and attacks the USS Enterprise A, attempting to steal the Genesis device. This is the K-7 space dock, which appeared in several episodes of the original series. I think its most famous appearance is the episode Trouble with Tribbles, in which the space dock becomes infested with the small furry race of creatures. Quite a simple design for a space station. Speaking of space stations, here we have Deep Space Nine. The main setting for the series Star Trek Deep Space Nine, commanded by Benjamin Sisko. It sits outside the only known stable wormhole between the Alpha and the Gamma quadrants, known as the Bajoran wormhole, and home to the Prophets. At the time, it was a radical departure from the usual Star Trek designs. And Deep Space Nine itself was a much darker series. This is the USS Enterprise, NCC Pt.1701c. It appeared only once in the episode Yesterday's Enterprise from Star Trek The Next Generation. Season 3, Episode 15. It's an Ambassador-class starship, slightly smaller than the Galaxy-class. The Enterprise C was destroyed by Romulans as it attempted to save Klingons from attack, leading to peace between the Federation and the Klingons. It was captained by Captain Barrett, who died returning to its original timeline. Now we have a Klingon bird of prey. This ship's design first appeared in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. And became a staple throughout all Star Trek movies and The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. Again, this is one of my favourite alien ships. Now we have a Type 6 shuttlecraft from Star Trek The Next Generation. This was used regularly throughout The Next Generation. This particular model is called the Berman, named after a producer of The Next Generation, Rick Berman. This is a more obscure model, and it appeared in Star Trek the Motion Picture. This is a Vulcan shuttlecraft Surak, and it delivered Mr. Spock to the Enterprise as it was en route to meet Vija. Only a brief appearance for this one. Here we have the Borg cube, first appearing in the episode Q Who in season 2 of The Next Generation. Q, played by John Delancey, would transport the Enterprise D light years away into the path of a Borg cube. It wouldn't be until the end of season 3 when the Borg would reappear in one of the most famous episodes of The Next Generation, The Best of Both Worlds. These ships are not to scale with each other. If that were the case, this ship would be enormous. Here we have the USS Excelsior, NCC 2000. This ship originally appeared in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. It was sabotaged by Scotty so that the crew of the Enterprise could steal the ship and rescue Spock from the Genesis planet. This ship would go on to appear in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, captained by Hikaru Sulu, former helmsman of the USS Enterprise. And it would be widely used throughout Star Trek The Next Generation. One of the hardest working ships in the fleet. Now onto the Ferengi Marauder. The Ferengi know this as a Decora class starship. It first appeared in the Next Generation episode, The Last Outpost, the 5th episode of Season 1. It was intended that the Ferengi would become a key villain for the Next Generation crew, but they weren't received as well as expected, which led to the creation of the Borg. A wise move, I think. Back to the original series with a Romulan bird of prey. This ship appeared in the episode Balance of Terror, episode 8 of the first season of the original series. A very simple design. During other episodes of the original series, it's revealed that Romulans also use ships designed by Klingons. This design would later appear in an episode of Star Trek Picard. And now we have a Klingon D7 battlecruiser. This is the design that the Romulans use in the episode The Enterprise Incident. However, a class of ship similar to this, known as the Katinga class, appears in the opening sequence of Star Trek the Motion Picture. And also in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Another famous ship in the line, the USS Enterprise NCC 1701A. This is the same as the refit which appears in the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan. And also the search for Spock when it's destroyed. It is in the closing sequence of Star Trek IV, The Journey Home, when the new Enterprise A is revealed to the crew. That ship would go on to appear in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, and Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Another iconic design. Here we have the Federation space dock. I think it may be slightly tall for this video. The space dock first appears in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. It's large enough for the Enterprise to enter. You can see the grey squares are bay doors. It appeared in Star Trek IV, The Journey Home, and also in several episodes of The Next Generation. Now we have a shuttlecraft from the original series. This is Galileo 2. a Galileo type shuttlecraft appeared in several original series episodes. One of my favourites being the Doomsday Machine, in which Commodore Matt Decker flies a Galileo shuttle into the villain of the week, a machine that can consume planets. The Commodore is killed and he doesn't succeed. But Captain Kirk and his crew win the day. Here we have a Romulan scout ship. This ship appeared in the Next Generation episode, The Defector, episode 10 of season 3. A high-ranking Romulan tries to defect to the Federation. However, it all turns out to be a trick to lure the Federation into a war with the Romulans. A simple design, but some nice details. This is the USS Farragut. It's a design very similar to that of the Enterprise D, but slightly more compact. The USS Farragut appeared in the closing scenes of Star Trek Generations, the first movie with the Next Generation cast. Following the destruction of the Enterprise D, the Farragut arrives to carry the crew of the Enterprise away from Viridian 3. Lots of detail on this model. I like it a lot. It's a shame we didn't see it more in the series. It did appear in one episode as the USS Sutherland. It's a Nebula class starship, and I like it. Here we have what's known as a runabout. This is a Danube class shuttle. It appears most prominently throughout Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But its first appearance came in The Next Generation. Episode 25 of Season 6, Timescape, in which Captain Picard uses a runabout to save both the Enterprise D and a Romulan warbird. Staying with The Next Generation, here we have a Klingon Vorcha class battlecruiser. It first appeared in episode 7 of season 4, The Reunion, and it carried the Klingon Chancellor, Kempek, to meet with the Enterprise. It appeared many times throughout The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, especially during the Dominion War. This is the SS Botany Bay. This appeared in the original series episode Space Seed. The Botany Bay carried Khan Noonien Singh from Earth to SETI Alpha 6. And stranded him there, leading to the events of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. This is the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701B. Its only appearance came in the opening scenes of Star Trek Generations. When responding to a distress call, unprepared and with only a skeleton crew, the Enterprise B was badly damaged by the Nexus ribbon, and while trying to save two stranded ships lost in the ribbon, Admiral James T. Kirk was lost. Fortunately for us, he would reappear towards the end of the film to assist Captain Jean-Luc Picard. The Enterprise B is an Excelsior class ship with modifications. Here we have the USS Stargazer. The Stargazer was the first command of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, who would go on to captain the Enterprise D. This ship appeared in the first season episode, The Battle, from season 1 of The Next Generation. However, the ship itself is not yellow, and ended up this colour due to a mix-up in the design stages at Galoob. The Stargazer was actually a similar colour to the other ships in the Federation at the time. Here we have a Klingon battlecruiser. This is one of the largest Klingon ships in the Klingon fleet, known as the Negvar class. It first appeared in the final episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. All Good Things. but would later appear during the Dominion War in Deep Space Nine. The scale of this ship slightly undersells the size of it in the series. In reality, it would dwarf the Vorcha class significantly. In the same episode, that the Negvar would appear, an alternate timeline would bring us this alternate design Enterprise D. Captained by Admiral William T. Riker. This ship would arrive at the last minute to rescue Jean-Luc Picard from attacking Klingons. This is a divisive design for the Enterprise D. Some people liked it, others really didn't. It carried heavier weaponry and travelled at faster speeds. Than the Enterprise D that we know. And here is the Enterprise D. First appearing in the episode Encounter at Farpoint. Captained by Jean-Luc Picard and his crew for 7 seasons and 178 episodes. For me, this is my favourite Enterprise. One of the design features for the Enterprise D is the separating saucer section, which allows, in an emergency, for civilians and families to escape, and for the crew to remain and fight if necessary. this is not something that happened very much on the show, but it did happen in the very first episode of The Next Generation, Encounter at Farpoint. Another iconic design. Here we have the USS Grissom. The Grissom appeared in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Unfortunately, it's destroyed by a Klingon bird of prey. This is an Oberth class ship and is usually used for science-based missions. Several other ships of this design appeared throughout Star Trek The Next Generation, namely the Tsiolkovsky, the Vico, and the Pegasus, which is one of my favourite episodes of The Next Generation. This one is slightly different and is the USS Pasteur. This ship appears in the same timeline as the alternate Enterprise D and is captained by Dr. Beverly Crusher. This is an Olympic class ship which appeared in All Good Things, the final episode of The Next Generation. Sadly, it's destroyed by Klingons, and is another starship design that divides opinion. Personally, I quite like it. Here we have a Cardassian Gala class battlecruiser. First appeared in the Next Generation episode, The Wounded, but was a regular throughout Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I have an alternate design Klingon bird of prey. This represents a bird of prey that appears in Star Trek Generations, the first of the Next Generation movies. And this is the ship that actually destroys the Enterprise D, causing the saucer section to crash land on Viridian 3. This ship is destroyed by the Enterprise before it crashes, killing the villainous Duras sisters in the process. And finally, I have one more version of the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701D. This version does not have a separating saucer section and is slightly smaller. I hope you've enjoyed this tour of my Micro Machines collection. Let me know in the comments which ships are your favourites and which ones you don't like. And if any of the information that I've included in this video is incorrect, please accept my apologies. In my next video, I'll show you some more of my collections. Enjoy the rest of your day. Live long and prosper.